Now it's time for Ag on 8, where this week we cover local, state, and national news. Well, a trade agreement with Japan is official. President Trump signing an executive order on Thursday, which puts into place an agreement established back in July. Now, it includes 15% tariffs on most Japanese imports. The agreement means Japan will purchase $8 billion in goods from the U.S. That includes things like corn, soybeans, fertilizer, ethanol, and sustainable aviation fuel. Now, rice farmers will likely see the biggest boost from this deal, Japan importing 75% more rice than before the deal was reached. The U.S. Department of Agriculture expects farmers to make more money this year compared to last year. Now, livestock owners are likely to see big gains, selling cattle for over 15% more. Government payments to farmers have also gone up thanks to aid from the American Relief Act. And on the other hand, crop farmers are expected to sell their grain for about 2% less. Overall, total farm expenses are expected to increase. Well, farmers in Iowa have more time to sign up for a program helping them plant cover crops on their farms. Cover crops are plants like rye, wheat, and oats, and they're a tool farmers use to reduce tillage and keep soil healthy. The Iowa Department of Agriculture and Land Stewardship is putting aside more money for this program, and they say it's because they're seeing record demand. Now, farmers planting the crops can get up to $30 per acre, and the program covers up to 160 acres per farmer. The new deadline is September 18th, and you can contact your local USDA office for more information. Well, an Illinois corn farmer says Brazil's tariffs are hurting their ethanol sales. Ethanol, mostly made from corn here in the U.S., faces an 18% tariff to enter Brazil. But Brazil pays just 2.5% to get its ethanol into the United States. The Renewable Fuels Association reports back in 2018, Brazil bought a third of all American ethanol. Now it buys just 1.3%. Well, I caught up with Illinois farmer Kenny Hartman, and he spoke before the U.S. Trade Representative last week. He says it's not a fair situation. Well, Kenny, obviously corn farmers have had some issues with the current ethanol trading situation with Brazil. I mean, why does this hurt you as an Illinois farmer?
Well, obviously we have concerns because 35% of our crop goes into the ethanol market. So we're always looking for new markets. And frankly, Brazil before 18 was our largest ethanol purchaser. They bought a lot of ethanol from us up to 18. So with the crop that we have right now, we're talking to 16.7 billion bushels, and the concerns with prices right now, it's more important than ever to keep our markets when it comes to ethanol. So after 18, what happened with this situation with Brazil is they threw a 20% tariff on us. So then after that tariff came about, basically our large market just disappeared because of the fact that they weren't going to, with a 20% tariff. Then we went to 16, they dropped it to 16% later on. And then January of 24, they decided to put it back to 18%. And obviously, that's huge for us. But at the same time, they've been bringing in their sugarcane ethanol into California with hardly no tariff at all. So, we at Corn Growers, I mean, we're all about free trade, but we're also about a level playing field and fair trade.
Yeah, I want to get to that sugarcane in a second. But what's their reasoning behind putting this tariff on? Just because they can? Or is there some type of logic behind it?
I believe that, they're basically trying to expand their market. I mean, they went from, 28 to 30% right now with their fuel in that country. And it's ethanol is a growing market throughout the whole world. So I think they're trying to capture that market and expand their own processing in their own country. It started out where they were sugarcane ethanol, and now they're basically double cropping corn. So there's a lot more acres going into corn, and frankly, we believe that they're opening up not a new rainforest and new land that's going into corn production.
And that's another thing that you guys talked about too, was some of the illegal deforestation, correct? Is that part of your conversations?
Well, some of the conversation that was there, we didn't emphasize as much on that as some of the other things, but we definitely believe that they are still, breaking new ground open comparative to us in the United States, where, I mean, if anything, we're using more conservation measures. Okay. I think they might have slowed down from what they were, but we believe they're still doing it.
Talking back to sugarcane, so that's something that they're putting into the American ethanol market. Can you explain that situation?
Well, they've been in the sugarcane ethanol has been coming into the California market, and that's because, according to the modeling, they believe that the sugarcane has got a lower CI score than the corn ethanol. And again, that goes a lot back to the modeling. We use the Greek model for concerns, and we look at that as being the gold standard. But they use a QCA model, which is a different model, which basically looks at them saying that the sugarcane ethanol is that much more lower CI score, and at the same time, they're also saying now that that also helps them with their corn ethanol because they're looking at it as a double crop. But one of the things that we testified and have concerns with is, they say that it's so much lower CI score because of the double cropping. But when you double crop, you still got to use the same seed, the same fertilizer, the same chemicals for both crops. You're still running machinery over. So really, you're not gaining as much as we believe that they're trying to say they are. I mean, the only gain is you're using the same land.
And tell me, you were obviously just in DC testifying. What were these panels like? What was the conversation?
Well, there was definitely, I testified. We had U.S. Grains Council testified. Growth Energy and RFA both testified. So we were basically saying what I'm telling you right now. That was ours. Then we had some of the Brazilians testify, and they contradicted and basically were saying that that they don't need to buy ethanol from us because we should work together because of the rest of the world. That there's a lot of opportunities there. But we're saying to them again, maybe that's true that we should work, both of us, producing ethanol for the world. But then why not have 0% tariff on back and forth instead of them having a higher tariff against us?
What was their solution? Do they just want to keep it as it is right now?
They really didn't have a solution. They just kept talking about other markets that we should work together across the country, and obviously they're going to keep pushing their model. And it is true. One thing I want to emphasize is, there's a lot of opportunities out here. When we look at Japan's going, they went from ETBE to a 7%. Now they're going to a 10%. Their objective, I think, by 2030 is going to actually 20% ethanol then. You've got, other countries like India that's looking at going 20%. There's some other countries in Asia and Africa that are looking at higher blends. The big news of the other day is UK is now our second largest purchaser of ethanol. So that's become, and because of the negotiations that we had with Trump, that has come about. So, there's a lot of opportunities for ethanol throughout the world, which we agree with them on that. But we're just frustrated. Then why not be equal between the United States and Brazil when it comes to the tariffs and some of these things?
And as a farmer in Illinois growing corn that goes into ethanol, what are your concerns if this doesn't get changed and it stays the status quo or gets worse?
Well, we just think there's opportunities there, and we should have a level playing field. That's the concerns, and we do believe that they're going to keep producing more ethanol out of corn. So that throws us in a situation where they're looking at trying to say that they have this lower CI score, and then there's also concerns as you go into the world market with SAF. It's still SAF's down the road a few years, but we want to make sure that we position our U.S. farmers equal to any of the other farmers throughout the world, that we have the similar CI scores and we can produce a SAF commercially like everybody else.
Is this having an immediate impact on prices or anything, or just more of a precedent issue that you're afraid could get worse overall?
I think it's just another situation where we appreciate the Trump administration's working on having a level playing field. I think we haven't really done much when it comes to trade agreements for how long. So now the president has put an emphasis on equal trade throughout the world, and we're hoping that we can get some opportunities to open trade. And the UK is a prime example. We're hoping for him. I think he's working with Vietnam, working with Indonesia. We're hoping to get some trade agreements out of that. India is a huge market. I know we keep talking about that. 1.4 billion people. They're basically between feeding their people and wanting to go to this higher blend to clean their environment up. They're a big opportunity. There's some opportunities in Africa for us when it comes to trade. So we're just really excited that we're seeing some opportunities when it comes to trade agreements. We just hope that he can get them done, because let's face it, farmers right now are struggling. We've got, the only way we're going to fix this problem if we keep producing a crop like we're doing is have more markets. Right now we're at, when it comes to corn, we're at record exports, but we still got this big crop, and we just added 1 billion bushels according to USDA. So if this all comes to fruition, there's just a concern that we're going to have $3 corn, and we need to sell some grain. If it's overseas or domestically with higher blends of ethanol, obviously we're working on that. we're hoping to get this E15 bill passed as soon as possible because we think that's going to be a bump in the market to raise the prices up, getting more E15 throughout the world. We're excited about what's maybe happening in California here with E15. That's another opportunity. And, long term, we're looking at, we need to be 20, 25% ethanol through the whole United States, just like some of our foreign countries are doing. So.
And so we just talked about obviously your conversations. I mean, what's next for this whole process with U.S. trade representatives? I mean, is there something else coming up?
Well, that will proceed. I mean, the panel will be discussing it. There'll be some opportunities there to give some more data back to the panel in the next few weeks, and then we'll see where they come up with.
Okay. And when do they make a final decision, or is there something like that is made?
Basically, they could come out where they could put a tariff against the Brazil on some other issues. They can do basically just things that would go back against them. One of the things we want to do is have a joint U.S. Brazilian working group to address some of these what we call flaws and omissions. I think that's an opportunity that we can actually work with Brazilians as they basically said back to us, we want to work together on opening these markets in other foreign countries. So having a panel that we could work together would be a great thing. And then they could even come back and say that we've had some losses from this because we believe that we would have sold more ethanol into the Brazilian market if they wouldn't have done this. So there may be some other compensations that they could come up with. But I think the big thing is to get the level playing field back. And as far as the tariffs, and then the other part is definitely getting us so we're on the same page with a model that we agree with when it comes to the future of ethanol and SAF.
Well, thank you so much for your thoughts, Kenny. We appreciate hearing firsthand about this experience.
Well, thank you. I always enjoy being on with you.
Now locally, in today's age of auto steer and self-driving tractors, coming up next Saturday, you'll have a chance to throw it back a few years. From farming equipment used with horses, blacksmith demonstrations, and old tractors, the Vintage Farm Equipment Show in Atkinson is honoring those both before and making a way for the younger generation. And that's why I caught up with Dave Carton, the event's organizer and founder. Now he shares what people can look forward to this year and how the group is keeping alive the memory of many in its community. How are you today, Dave?
Just great. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Well, we're glad to have you in studio. I mean, tell us what we can expect at this event.
Well, we're in a park-like setting. Like you said, we're in Atkinson, just a block and a half from downtown, right across from the railroad tracks. We've got lush, plush grass. We got lots of shade. We got modern bathrooms. We have food on the site, and even when it was hot, we had cool temperature because of breeze going through the trees. And it's a beautiful, beautiful spot to have a tractor show or any kind of event, really. Yeah.
Yeah, and what kind of tractors can people expect?
We're going to have vintage, old time. We'll have newer stuff and the equipment that goes with it. We'll have horse-drawn stuff. Our museum's got a lot of horse-drawn stuff in it, and they're all very, very nice stuff. We've been blessed with a lot of nice items for our museum. There'll be vintage garden tractors. There'll be custom garden tractors, and I got a friend that's got a hill climber motorcycles from early on in the 60s and 70s, and if things go right, I hope he'll be able to be there this year. Yeah.
Wow, you've got all of it, and you have a guest speaker coming in, don't you?
Yes, Dan Dow's coming, and he's a historian, presentator, and if you've never seen him, you get the opportunity, don't miss it. He is very knowledgeable, and he brings stuff on display. This year he's going to be talking about aircraft carriers, and he puts a lot of humor into it too. And if he knows you and you're in the audience, you will get picked on.
Those are the best kind of speakers for sure.
Yes.
Well, tell me, this has now been going on for a decade.
Yes.
What made you want to start this 10 years ago?
Well, a group of us got together and we got kind of tired of how some of the stuff was going on, and we wanted to try something a little different for a farm show. And we're a static display, we're not a working show, but all our people stay right around their areas. So if you got a question or you see something being running and don't understand what's going on, ask them. They're right there to tell you, and it makes a big difference. Some of your bigger shows, you walk around, there's nobody around, but yeah, that's one of the reasons we did it, and we wanted to support the 7 agricultural museums in Henry County. And by doing this, we brought knowledge for them. We publicized for them. We most of the proceeds from the show goes back to the museum. So I have just enough left over to start the show the next year.
And you guys have a program for younger people too, don't you?
Yes, yes, from the age of 6 to 16. And I have people that'll donate stuff to our show for the kids. And the only stipulation is they have to be registered and have a parent okay if they're, a certain age. And, they can't sell it. They can do whatever they want with it. It's theirs, but they can't sell it to try and make a profit or whatever, but so.
And you're not just helping kids, but you're also remembering about 30 people this year. Tell me about that and your heart behind that.
Okay, well, this is our, excuse me, memorial area for the friends that have passed. And I run from last year's show to this year, and out of those people that have passed. And we try to get the family members to bring some of their equipment. You might not know their names, but you remember their faces or what they had on display. So we've got a special area set up just for that, and it goes over well. And yeah, it's hard to believe we've lost almost 30 people in 10 years from our friends. And but we try to keep their memories alive. So yeah.
Sure. Well, perfect. Thanks, Dave, for coming in today. We appreciate you being here and sharing about it.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, the beginning of September means apple picking season is just around the corner. Jonas Evans takes us to a farm in Lynn Center, hearing how the weather plays a role in this agribusiness.
They're Honeycrisp. They're awesome.
Apple enthusiasts from across the state come here to Camp Creek Farm for their apples. Some are even picking for others.
We have a farmer's market every Monday, and the residents could come down because a lot of them can't get out to get fresh fruits and vegetables.
Bob Fielding runs the farm with his wife Laura, and the two have made apple picking a family business since the start.
Most of the time we spend together is working. My wife and I are equal partners in this. She spends just as much time as I do with different aspects of the business, so it's been rewarding.
Apple picking starts this weekend here at Camp Creek Farms, and after a hot and humid summer, patrons can expect a lot more apples like these on the trees.
Once the apples are blooming, if we get a frost that's too hard or a freeze, that can reduce the size of the crop. This year that never happened, so this year we actually probably have almost too many apples on the trees, and they tend to be smaller.
But a lack of frost isn't the only factor the farm has to manage.
The weather's, always just the biggest factor. There's a lot of things that can go right. There's a lot of things that go wrong. The key really to any agriculture business is to kind of keep scouting. You've got to get out there, you've got to walk, you've got to be right out there and know what's going on before things catch you by surprise.
That's why Fielder says apple farming is a year-round job. In Lynn Center, Jonas Evans, WQAD News 8.